We are live, but we do not appear to have...
Momentito. Hello, everybody, and good evening in the European hemisphere. Good morning to the United States, and somewhere in between, in a lovely island, which is an hour difference from mainland Germany, is in Cyprus. Our guest of today, Annika Björk. Welcome, Annika.
Hello.
Welcome.
Good evening.
For those which are with our a certain constancy and continuity, our guests, we are right now on our 184th show. It is something we are a little bit proud of. And the hiccup in the start is the normal procedure. If I do some of the pushing buttons in the background exercise, where normally our dear friend Thomas, who is now having family vacation and might join in with some comments on LinkedIn, but instead of challenging us with a probably not so well internet, telecom style, he just decided, well, guys, you take this forward. So we are grateful that we have Annika, if I count it right, for the third time. And it's a fascinating development, such as when I first met her and didn't know a clue about what her background was. She was a guest and a speaker in Shift CX. Then it became, after that pitch and that very interesting talk, you could say addicted. So I wanted to keep track on her way in seeing things in CX. But I would like to give you an opportunity, Annika, to introduce yourself, a bit of your background, and why you have the terrific opportunity to switch between the lovely mountains of Switzerland and the sunny beaches of Cyprus.
Thank you for your very kind words. Where should I start? I started with CX almost 20 years ago, and I did kind of the counterintuitive way. I first implemented CX in a big insurance company in Switzerland, so when I was still living in Switzerland. And then went into consultancy. So usually it's consultancy first, and then you move into corporate management. I did 12 years of corporate management and then moved for 8 years into consultancy. And went into specific CX consultancy. So I had the chance there to work and implement and scale customer experience management in many different companies across every industry, pretty much, like from the public transportation to pretty much every insurance, you name it. There's been everything. But what I saw by doing this project is when you come in as an expert, the C-level especially, but also colleagues and management are kind of used to having this counterpart of a very experienced senior CX professional. And then you have this team taking over, and it's kind of hard for them because, of course, they don't have that expertise that you come in with or an entire group of consultants have. They have no chance. So you kind of have a slowdown in all of those initiatives, and sometimes they even stop because they don't have the same backup as they did before. So when I decided to start my own company, I said, what I want to do is to support these teams from the background. So give them the entire knowledge, the toolkits, everything they need from the background, but they are the ones doing the work. They're the face of CX in the company, because it is always related to a face in most times, because it has to do with change. So you need a face, you need, personality that moves that forward. And I did that just before COVID. So that was 2018. I moved for 6 months for a project to Cyprus with my ex-partner and my daughter. And then we decided to stay a bit longer. And I realized my entire kind of business from the beginning. And then COVID hit, and that was that. So everything picked up from there. Pretty good. And so I have the big luck of being able to, from my hobbies, I'm an avid kite surfer and I love kiting. So I need the sea, but I also love skiing. And I have a brother which lives in the Alps. So I can switch back and forth between my two preferred hobbies, and the scenery.
nice.
I love.
Walk your talk would be one of the typical coaching talks, such as you give with these friendly words a warm inside view of putting, like my Turkish friends would say, you put the heart on the table and let everybody have a look inside, such as, hi guys, here I am. I know it's sometimes a hard way to make the move and walk the talk, but let's try together and we will succeed. You create heroes. That is one of the teaser bits, CX heroes, as you started with your initiatives from your own background and utilized COVID not as a challenge, but as an opportunity, and created a lot of online presences. You were in a lot of conferences, and from there on, you developed some strategies. And our first talk, if I remember right, was at that time why there were still some of these typical hurdles, which we were starting our conversation also today off, that you developed 5 strategies to achieve impact and visibility to the project, and that the organization and their customers realize there's something changing. You just made the point, such a story, such a mission with such a vision needs a face. Yeah. How are you proceeding over the years, as when we started our conversations in 2020 till today? It's over 3 years, and the starting point at these times were 5 strategies you gave as a tip and advice how to overcome the hurdles, and also the challenge at that time. You had only an amount of customers where you were not allowed to talk about the success numbers and all that stuff. And we are a bit curious how things are going forward, and some of the anonymized targeting feedback, such as, what do these people which worked with you on projects gave you as feedbacks?
Yeah, I mean, the problem of anonymization I still have, and I think it's something a lot of coaches and consultants shares, which are in the hemisphere of business development, business strategies, and all that, of big corporates especially, because then you start. I always try to make a best case, a best practice out of every coaching project that I have, and I mostly do, and they get sent into the PR department. And then they get lost in nirvana somehow, like you never hear back from them, honestly. So my strategy kind of changed. We always have an engagement letter which states that I can use their name. So I can state the companies I work with, but not say exactly what we do. But I do anonymize then the best cases, and I put them out there. You just never can guess who is behind which one.
Okay.
That's the important part, of course. And if there's one or two best cases that come back from those sellers of the PR and whatnot departments, then yeah, I'll put them out there. Yeah, you mentioned the 5 strategies that I published in 2020. That was regarding a lot of, the project itself. I always differentiate between CX projects and CX programs or initiatives. So CX projects is what I call experience engineering. I take a touch point, a customer journey, and I change it. I make it better. Like it's one project. And I saw, especially with CX teams or customer experience manager being at the beginning of the journeys, that they really struggle to make solid CX projects. One, because they lack knowledge around project management in general. And I've led large-scale projects myself in the past as a head of quality management. So I had 100, 200 people working in my projects. And, those are skills you need to have and acquire. And just not making the proper cases for their projects, not having, the business cases for them in place, not setting the project up the proper way so that they would be able to measure anything. Because when the project is finished, you're not going to measure anything anymore. Like it's done, it's over. So it starts at the beginning. And CX programs are, the bigger scale initiatives where you really think about, okay, which projects are we going to put in place? What are we going to re-engineer? How are we going to measure CX in general? How are we going to implement voice of the customer systems? Then the whole leadership around customer experience management, like who has that hat and who drives that topic and who makes the strategies. And then the little topic of change management, which comes into place with CX, when you have to think about, how to scale CX or customer centricity within your organization. So that's what I understand with a program, a topic that arises a bit later in maturity when you have a team, when it is more on the agenda of C-level, or when you want to put it on C-level agenda, and when you want to move towards customer centricity and higher maturity when it comes to that in the company. So this is a bit the differentiation I make. And I've seen, as far as successes with my coaches, it's been beautiful the last 3 years, because they sometimes made really huge step. I had someone being promoted into C-level. I had a team now really being at par with C-level. They're coming to them, asking them for advice, for the strategies for the entire company. And I can talk about it. It's Deutsche Hospitality, the former Steigenberger Gruppe. They have about 11,000 employees, 8 brands. And in 1 year, they were able to move from a simple feedback processor, like customer feedback processing and just giving the insight into the organization, to really being a team at par and having C-level trying to access them and asking them for advice on strategies and these kind of questions, which is amazing. And they've made huge steps, really huge steps, beautiful to see. So yeah, that's one of them I can talk a little bit about because Christian has been on my podcast. So if you're interested to have a look into that case, he talks about what they've been doing, the struggles and everything. There's a whole podcast episode on the CX Heroes podcast with Christian Salinger. So that's very interesting. But it's in German.
Hey, that is lovely to hear. And it's what Brits and Americans and the German Schwäbisch number crunchers would always ask for. Deliver me some proof of the concept and deliver me some return on investment figures.
Yeah,
so
numbers. Give me the numbers.
Give me the numbers. And the simple thing is what me in the role as a consultant or software selection specialist mostly answer, well, there is some stuff which might apply to your organization, but we have to take it step by step. If we want to eat a complete cake in one haps, we will get a certain problem. So piece by piece, step by step, and moving forward, make things easy, and then see the quick wins and get the feeling on the emotional aspect, such as how can a good experience be shared and at which point. That drives me to the problem that there are always some scoring models and a lot of number crunching aspects one can do. But what I prefer is to have some stars and some poor dogs, such as like we see it in Amazon. My typical behavior in Amazon is I look for the best recensions and quotes, and for the worst ones. Why did they got mad with that product or that service? So in between this is light and darkness. I want to have a certain feeling. To get an adjustment in this journey, it is useful, and we discussed it in several Shift CXs and others, that with target groups you would like to focus on, such as buyer personas, one can make his experiences. Depending on the industry, I'm curious, as your personal background is with the financial industry. Now you mention Christian and hospitality. Which other industries are you in? Question one. And question two, what is your advice on utilizing a typology or a buyer persona for that exercise? What are your experiences on that?
Okay, so the coachings at the moment are strongly financial industry. They always are investing in CX. They started, let me think, when did I start? 2007.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I was just thinking, like, telecom was the first wave in Switzerland and, well, pretty much the German-speaking region. The second wave was financial, and we were the first movers. So that was 2007, 8, 9, around that. And they're still strong. They're still investing strongly in CX. It goes a little bit in waves, so that's a big one. Yeah, I mentioned Deutsche Hospitality. So that's yeah, hospitality in general. Then I have a producing company. I'm just thinking how to frame it, not to say too much.
Yeah, well, in manufacturing, there is a lot what you can do in manufacturing, from cars to telephones to computers.
It's bigger things. It's a very large company, has about 70, 80,000 employees worldwide. So very large. Yeah, exactly. Very, very renowned. And so we're coaching in there. Yeah, those are the biggest, kind of industries. And so you were asking about framework.
Yeah.
Around personas, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the thing here with personas is, first of all, they get mixed up a lot with target group when it comes to marketing. So my distinction, and as you know, I also lecture at several universities. Actually, I found out through one of my interns that I'm probably the very first lecturer in CX in the German-speaking region. I never thought about it, but he told me, no one started before you. Yeah, I started 2011. So it's been a while. It's been 12 years now. So it's been a long time. So I'm going to tell you what I also tell my students. So what target groups are great for is to have a deep understanding of wishes, social demographics, what they're looking for, how to communicate to win those clients, right? This is the goal, is to win and onboard, get them to buy your product.
Right.
Personas, on the other hand, tell you, and that's the most important bit, how customers are behaving and why they're behaving that way. So if you have a persona model that is not able to answer to you why customers are behaving a certain way, and we're talking here about needs level, like competency, relationship orientation, safety, self-esteem. These are the levels we're looking for, like not just sinus milieus, which are very popular, at least in the German-speaking region.
Yeah.
Like on a deeper level. Then you don't have a persona model that is really serving you. And I can take a little example from a small client I had just before COVID, one of my first one with my own company. And she has a little store for, what do you call it? Like creams and stuff like that for, especially for women, like skincare and stuff like that. So very small store. And
cosmetics.
Sorry?
Cosmetics.
Yeah, cosmetics. Exactly. Right. So pretty much premium brands, stuff like that. And her customers always come into the store and have a chat and all of that. So typical relationship-oriented people. Those are the people that are known not to buy online. They look for the personal contact, and it has nothing to do with age. So there comes the problem already with social demographics. When COVID hit, as she knew her persona or her personas being very relationship-oriented, she knew she doesn't have to put her stuff online. She didn't have an online store, and she never had one during the entire COVID time, because she knew her customers is never going to be happy. So what she did is a WhatsApp chat, the business WhatsApp chat. And they could just book, and she wrote her customers, and they were able to book appointments. And she was in the store. She was allowed to be in store with her iPhone and with her iPad, and she would show her customers and have one-on-one little sessions to tell them, oh, I have this problem and this and that, dry skin, whatever. And she would advise them and show them the products, wrap them in a little beautiful box, write a handwritten note, which are the little things which are important for a relationship-oriented person. Wow. Make a beautiful package and send it. She never had a problem throughout the entire COVID, because she knew she could predict the behavior of her customers because she had a good persona model. And it's not complicated. It doesn't take a long time, and it's not expensive. You need between 15 to 20 interviews in your journey. Personas are always tied to a journey, because the goal you have has an impact on your behavior, the goal in your journey. So you need to know them for every journey, and you have to be able to explain it through the needs. And so what you see often is that you onboard certain customers because they're targeted through marketing, which is fine. But then you lose certain customers. And if you do a persona analysis, typically it's a certain persona, because you're not serving them the right way, because you're kind of promising stuff to certain kind of personas. You're onboarding them, but you don't strategize around that. You don't put processes in place which make them happy. So a certain type of persona is gonna fall out of your basket because they don't find your processes appealing. And that's where personas really have their strength. So yeah, my plea is to really do solid, good persona models on that base. And then you, for example, understand how it works in customer lifetime value. When I was at the insurance, we analyzed our C customers, like the bad customers. Like D are the worst, you want to get rid of them. But the C customers are the one where you don't really make money. What we found out is, well, they're C customers because they're not happy with us. They don't want to buy more with us because they're not happy with our processes. So we started serving them phone. And all of a sudden, they had 2, 3, 4 contracts because they started being happy with the way we served them. They didn't want to have the insurance guy at their door all the time. So they had an insurance with every other company. So they had 4 or 5 insurance contracts, and everyone tried to get in of the door and had all these people ringing at their door, and they were like, "Oh, get off me!" And we started treating or advising them by phone, and they were so happy that they kept having other contracts and had happy customers. So even customer lifetime value, usually the C customers make a persona analysis. Chances are high that you're not serving someone well, and it's a chance. Or you decide on a strategy level, it's not the kind of customers we want. That's fine, but it is an educated decision then, and that's what you want to do, right?
Right. Meet the customers where they want to be.
Yeah, exactly. And don't always flip the things around like, oh, customer lifetime value. It's who's the good customer, who's the bad customer. No, it's just who are you serving well and who are you not serving well. And it's a lot to learn. It's an opportunity to make more business. So go for it.
That is an enthusiastic call to action from your end, and I like it. So I go forward on the people realize that differentiation, better services are helping them to differentiate. Differentiation by service is one thing. Knowing your customer, being educated in what you do, if you decide to let them go or to work for them and to make them more happy and to create a happy path where they, from their motivation, would like to stay a little longer and even give you an opportunity to upsell or, speaking for financial industry, to cross-sell as well.
Or take friends.
And knowing that a lot of people would love to follow that fruitful path of success, why the heck are several of the projects are reminding me of the Death Valley, such as they fail or they, in the middle of something, they have no more water or money. Yeah. What are your experiences on that? Why do projects fail?
There's several reasons. One of the main reasons is, as I mentioned before, they're not set up professionally or really well.
Okay.
The main reason is CX projects have a bit of another dynamic, because we have this phase of design thinking, experience engineering. I prefer using that word because design thinking kind of stops with a target experience and target journey, but we have to put that into processes, which is when the work really starts. Yeah. And that kind of gets lost in the happiness around doing design thinking about they're all overjoyed. And then it's like, oh, okay. But then there's processes, and who's going to do that work and get down in the trenches and get the, fingers and hands in the mud. So I call it experience engineering. That's for the people that also get down in the mud.
Yeah.
And that takes a certain amount of time. So I usually count with about 16 weeks to really do the entire process around design thinking, doing the research, doing prototyping, testing it with customers, and then starting a pilot project. So a small project where you kind of test, because it's great to have an idea of what you want to do. It's great to have a concept for how you want to change your processes, but you only really get the feel for it if it works or doesn't work with your systems, with your people, with your environment, with your company, with the politics, with everything that comes into it when you do a little pilot project. And that's when you can set up the first measurements, which is great, right? So you can start showing the effects. But that means a good preparation, great stakeholder management. You always have to count with the fact that our C-level today, most of them don't have experience in projects that have a customer-centric approach. So they're not used to this delay in the project So it's up to you as a project lead, as a project manager, to manage that delay, to manage expectations, to kind of inform. And that's what is a big problem, a lack that I see in a lot of projects. It's just, oh, I can do design thinking now and I bury myself in the process because I love it. Finally, I can do it. And I just don't take my head up to look around what is happening around myself. And then it's like this boomerang hitting my head in the back and saying, whoa, now it stopped. Why? I didn't see that coming. That's why I do a lot of stakeholder management, for example, with my coaches. It's one of the first things we look at. And in 99.999%, I haven't had a team until now that did a professional stakeholder management. And I mean, not just doing of, coffees, but systematically, strategically, stakeholder management, working on it every week, having resources for it, having files and everything you need around that to historically know what you've been doing. And I just had, as an example, one of my coaching teams, they've been in coaching now for about 14, 15 months. And it's one of the first things we did there too. And they just had a reorganization, and they had they sent a system out onto the market, which was a big fail. I mean, not the team did, the company did. It went into the press, everything. So that could have been one of those big boomerangs coming back to the CX team saying, what did you guys do? Why didn't you stop this? And they honestly did try to stop it, but no one was listening to them. So that was the place they were at. They've been doing great stakeholder management, and they had now this reorganization. They're now under the CEO. They stock up on their resources. They have extra manpower they can put into the team, get a new colleague on board. So they're completely in another place, in another position. They can't really believe it yet, and I think it hasn't sunk in yet, but it will by January or February. They have another standing also in front of C-level, and we're going to keep building on that. So that's what stakeholder management does, if done right.
Yeah. And what encourages me so heavily is not only your smile and your fantastic star in the background, which gives me a warm feeling and enthusiasm, but also that you started the conversation with, you came from the financial industry, you are no longer with that insurance company, but they learned their lesson. They are investing, they harvest what they have seed. What is the right explanation, Marshall? If you seed something and then it's growing.
I'm not quite sure what you're getting at. If
you spread the good news, you plant a little flower, and now you have a real field of tulips or other lovely flowers in that financial organization, growing and developing, and business is developing in a positive way. So they keep investing in experience management and in customer experience. And this is exactly where I would like to drive to, such as when one has overcome the hurdles, when one has understood and it sunk in, what are further challenges you are writing on your website a bit about, and you mentioned some of them with the CX team leadership, for instance. You mentioned already the stakeholder management challenge, but to keep people in the team by educating them is a bit also one of that questions which came along wavering like a little wave, such as, if one has a look into LinkedIn and some other media, there's a lot of CX talk about. There are courses and certifications and educations, but would I like to spend my money in there to become a knowledgeable expert and can do better work than uneducated. So,
And is a knowledgeable expert the same thing as a hero?
very good one.
Well, for me, that's where the brand comes from. CX Hero is actually, I mean, I've been in those trenches. I've been there myself for many, many years. And for me, all people in CX moving or taking this topic forward, the ones doing the job in the corporate, struggling with, strategies changing every 3 months, with all the politics, with all the dynamics. Those are for me the heroes because they put in so much dedication, time, love into their company and into the topic. And those companies don't even realize, and the C-level level, how lucky they are to have them, because it's so much damn hard work. It truly, it is so much knowledge that you have to kind of keep on top of. And I mean, now technology is even taking another spin and taking it to another level when it comes to that. But just take customer experience management itself, like take everything around experience engineering with all the methodologies, everything which comes with design thinking, with all of that, with UX developing into crazy levels. Then you take all the measurements, right? With voice of the customer systems, with statistical models that you can do, with qualitative interviews, with everything you can learn there. Then you have everything around kind of business development strategies, how to lead this kind of team, what kind of knowledge they need, leading large scale programs. And then the fourth pillar is just change management, right? Like there's entire instead MBAs on change management. It's a huge topic. And you try to combine these 4 pillars around, in CX. It's humongous. There's so much to learn and to know, and so many questions that can come to you where you can just stand there like an idiot because you don't have an answer and everyone's expecting you to be perfect. It's like,
Yeah, I know
right,
that feeling.
right? Like you do everything you can and then you don't know something and then it's like, fail. Those are for me the heroes because they just stand there, they learn, they do, they push, they move forward, and they do so much for the companies. So those are the heroes. And so the purpose of CX Heroes and the school that I built is to really give them something knowledgeable that they can put into action. Like just what I wanted to have when I started back in 2007. And there was pretty much nothing on the market there.
Yeah.
I mean, not in region anyway, because pretty much no one was moving on it. So I had to, what I did, I just grabbed people from San Francisco to everywhere and just called them. And I had to ask to be allowed to call to the US. Like we were not allowed to just make a phone call. I mean, it was 2007. It cost money, right? It was a normal phone on my desk, right? It was not a smartphone or anything or a Zoom call. It was a proper call to San Francisco where there was this Adam Cook, this professional CX person or CX professional working at Fireman Funds, which was one of the financial companies that was working a lot on CX, or Colin Shaw, one of them also, where I just picked up the phone and talked to him. So those are kind of the people that helped me put CX in practice and fed me with practical skills and knowledge. And then I was so lucky I was able to work with Colin Shaw and Alpha DB and all of those amazing CX gurus. They were in the house for a year coaching me, coaching my team, and we put the horsepower onto the ground. And that's kind of the same thing I want for other people. So I'm just thinking back, what did I want to have back then? I had so many question marks. I was coming from quality management, so you have a little bit of knowledge, but still, it's a lot. So that's what drives me and CX Heroes and the school, which we're developing further, to just give people what they need to put it in practice, just practical knowledge and skill. And in my opinion, it's something which is lacking still on the market heavily.
Yeah. So one of the quotes we had in the preparatory talk was from your intern, that he said, well, he joined you because he was on the search for something which is taking him forward. And he found one thing, you're offering. And now he is with you, working, learning, helping, and getting a lot of impressions, also from your other coachees and through the whole process. What is the general observation in the market? Do you really feel that you have an honest competition, or and don't put it on honest or not honest, on is there tough competition?
I don't know. That's kind of hard for me to answer if it's really tough. I mean, I'm very happy with the development of the coaching programs as well as the school itself, and all the courses we have now. We started in August, September with the first 6-month course.
Okay.
Going to finish at the end of, I think, end of January. No, mid-February is when it's gonna. So we're in the last module now as of January. So we just finished the third module. And one of the problem is with online courses that a lot of people don't finish them, and we have 100% attendance. So it's going really, really well. So, and that's the thing that's important to me. Like, we're on top of them. They have to do a project. They have to put it in place. They really have to do the work and be practical, and then they're going to get the certification to being a CX manager. What I see is there's a lot of courses, and that's what also my intern said, that are a few days telling you what is CX, why is it important, and having that overview. Nothing bad about that. That's great if you want to have an overview. But if you're a CX manager and you need to, implement CX, then, in my opinion, there's one place to go. And that's the CX Hero School. That's where you get practical skills, and we keep developing further. And it's our mission, it's our vision, it's what we do, and we're very passionate about it.
You give a very clear messaging in that area, such as passion, and the combination of heart and brains makes a fantastic benefit to enable people to do it with speed and in the combination of success, and that they get to learn how to stay in the process and survive the process, and a certain endurance. The mental stability, and you're offering to coach them through the period when they have done their first project and they go for the next project, that you are not gone, but you are still there. And that is something very important. It is nice to have a book and nice to have some video recordings, but when it comes to the point of, let's put it, the moment of truth, when you are not longer believing in yourself and your strengths, then you need your coach and your helping hand to give you the power from here to go for the next step and again find the trust in yourself.
And it's always, CX is not linear. It's not something that you can easily predict how the organization react, how the team is going to react. I mean, you lead in a project with a team, and then the next one is another team. So what is nice to be able to rely on is on expertise, is on someone that has been there 15 to 20 years and has not seen it all, but seen a lot. And that can give you a guidance and a direction where to go. And that's the thing what I see about some of the courses out there. There's a lot of people that come from the side of either consultancy or research and stuff like that, which is great area, super interesting. But, you know, there's not so many people that are in the field that really have done the work, working in comfort, implementing CX, doing the programs on a bigger scale. That is not so widespread. There's not so many out there that have done that. You have more in the English-speaking area, but even there, the courses are, I mean, I don't oversee the entire market, probably, maybe, I don't know, but also there, I don't feel like there's so much, which is, you know, I know afterwards how to do CX, like concretely, like in my company, or I've done the first project during my course. I don't see that yet.
Knowing you now for over 3 years is that your heart is beating for that, and that you are a very authentic person, and that you are passionate on that topic and you drive things forward, which came to the point that you shared, if one was willing to contact you and earn some of your learnings as a feedback, you offered a lot of people not only your podcast and video podcast, to be precise, on YouTube, or sharing some of your best practices and tips, but you also did a reflection on how 2023 developed. You already shared that you had your first course. You did not share how many registrants and participants or coachees you do have, and you don't need to do so. It is simply you go for something which I, in my sales age years, a bit ago, 10 years, 15, 20, would have told, I'm not in feature fucking and feature selling, I'm in benefit selling. That made me drive towards the aspect of sheer empathy, such as I don't like to walk in big shoes of other people. They might get smelly. But what I would love to do is to have a good understanding of them, to understand their customers, and adopt the mindset. Go into limbic, go into this understanding what makes them tick, what is them driving forward. And that was also my first starting point. When I saw your newsletter, you had some interesting topics, such as what did work, what insights you have earned, and especially if you are together with practitioners, such as people with are in the job, and they would love to get the proper education to then make a successful project happen. That is a completely different thing than having a student at the university. So I'm curious a bit about to learn more in your words about what you had for impressions on 2023 and where you see things moving forward.
We can dive into a few of the points. As you mentioned, it's a list of 10 points, and I think it's too extensive if we go into all the 10 points. But if anyone is interested, you can drop me a mail at school@cx-heroes.com, also just with the word mistakes, and I'll send you the complete list. It's in German, but you can translate it with Google Trados or Google Lens, whatever, or I'll make it English during the next few days. But yeah,
Deep L is your friend, trust me.
People.
Sorry?
People from Cologne.
Yes,
Deep.
I love
Yeah,
Oh my
that's my
gosh.
friend.
Yeah, except in Greek. I don't think there's Greek yet in people. That's
Well,
my challenge. So I have to translate with Google, and it's miserable. Honestly, miserable.
yeah, well, the
Even good.
the spoken language in Cyprus is a side of English is Greek. Yeah, right, and that is a challenge. No,
It is
not
a challenge.
only from the letters.
First grader. We have the funniest things that we do. So, well,
Just pick
you
3 points which you came over and you would like to share some bits and pieces with the audience and us.
I can. I'm gonna pick one which I see as one of the mistakes with probably the biggest impact is
Yeah.
I see a lot of the coaches which kind of, especially now, for example, it's end of 2023, and then I ask them, what do you want to achieve by end of 2024? And they have no clue. Like, they have literally no answer. What they do is they develop a roadmap based on today. Like, they say, okay, today we're here. We want to do, from here on, these are the topics. And then it's like, I compare it to go for a walk or go for a run, and I don't have a goal. I want to do a 5K run. I want to do this kind of loop or whatever because I have a goal in mind, right? And that's when I achieve the goal. But if I'm just going to say I'm going to go for a stroll or for a run, where am I going to end up if I don't have a goal? Like, am I going to get back home? Maybe, maybe not, right? So I kind of find it interesting how they make these plans and put in budget and everything. And it's like a planning always based from today forward instead of the goal backwards. And it's a little twist, but it does a lot with your mindset and with the way you approach the year and how much you try to stay on track, how much you reflect on things that you're doing, how much you reflect on strategy, like, do you need to adjust something, yes or no? And a lot on your stance when you have this 100 other projects coming at you and topics and saying, oh, I want this, I want a bit of resources, I want a bit of your money, I want this and that, to just say, no, I have a priority here, and that's this goal. By 2024, I want this and that to be implemented and not going away through the year. And it is so easy to go away during the year with CX because there's so many things which are interesting, important. And then you have C-level coming and other managers and this research and that project and that going online. So you have to keep your focus because otherwise you're not going to manage your resources, you're not going to manage your skills, you're not going to manage your projects, and you're not going to reach your goals. And then you become discussable as a unit because what are you reaching? What are you making? What's the difference you're making? Probably not enough because of that. So that will be one. Then I see a lot of teams that have not a good enough image of themselves, like the like the understanding of their own role. Well, a CX
They don't know what they're doing there.
Say again, sorry?
It's like they don't know why they're doing what they're doing. That sort of thing.
That, but also they see themselves as a lot smaller than what they are. A CX manager and a CX team has the potential to change the company. Literally. I've been there several times, and you can do it. You don't need C-level approval. You don't need anything. You can do it from the middle out. You can work with those value chains. Nobody's claiming them. There's so much valuable information you can bring into the company. If you do it the right way, you can do change from the middle towards up and towards down. You have every chance to do that. And a lot of CX teams are like, oh my gosh, am I allowed to do this and that? Instead of being bold, like, ring the CEO, ring his assistant. You have a topic to discuss, go for it. Like, don't give a damn. Like, go for it because you have the information, the capacity. You have a question.
Don't ask for permission. You may ask for forgiveness. My
Right.
motto.
Yeah, you don't know how often I say that. It's like if you do something good, you don't need, it's like, okay, you might do something wrong somewhere because you overstepped someone's boundary or whatever, but
Yeah.
you did something better for the company. Yeah, ask for the forgiveness for stepping on someone's toes, but in the light of everything else you've done, no one's gonna care. Like, no one's gonna care. It's not a problem.
And what you described as well is that sometimes what I mentioned with that it's good to know that you have your coach on your side, the self-confidence, the confidence and the trust in your abilities and what you are achieving and what you are preparing to achieve. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
That is one of the biggest thing that my coaches always feedback me. Is like, I just did interviews with them because I'm developing the CX Hero School further, and several said when I asked them, "What do you wish? Like, what do you want to have?" Like, having you in my ears, like having little Annika in the ear, talking to them and telling them what to say, which is the most beautiful compliment, of course. But
marvelous,
yeah,
marvelous. Yeah.
really nice. Yeah, it's marvelous. Absolutely. And the third thing I would point out is doing the wrong measures at the wrong moment. Of course, CX management is such a wide field. There's so many things you can do. And a lot of CX teams lack a strategy. So they have a strategy, which is throwing spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. But that's not a real strategy, right? It's like they have all the spaghettis coming down from the wall again. But as an Italian,
It's a
I'm
great
just saying,
image.
right? But yeah. So what the misunderstanding is, I'm sure you know it, Ralph. I have this transformation journey. So if you go towards the maturity of CX, you have this starting phase. You have the scaling phase where you start having a team, a budget, and you do more, you implement a voice of the customer system. And then you have the transformation phase where it's really about scaling CX into the entire company, transforming towards customer centricity. And a lot of teams have a misconception of where they are. Like, they feel like they're just before the transformation phase, while they're pretty much in the middle of the first phase. So they do the wrong measures at the wrong time. And then, of course, you don't get the impact and visibility that you would wish for. Or you have C-level kind of being a bit taken aback and saying, what are you doing? Like, what's the benefit? Like, what is this for? Or even colleagues saying, oh my gosh, why do I have to do a training on CX? Like, what's the meaning of this? Rightly so, because everything that would lead to a training is just missing in the entire change concept. So trainings usually go at the end of a change and not at the beginning, but a lot do it at the beginning, unfortunately. And then they burn the fields already, and people are like, oh my gosh, why do I have to do this? And there's like no real framework out there for that. And I find, like, for us, the transformation journey works really, really well. So at the beginning, focus on your projects, and then start scaling, focus on a strategy and a CX strategy and a program that follows or addresses all the 4 pillars. So you also start with change, these kind of things. And then when you're in the third phase, then you heavily rely on change management and CX frameworks within change management. And don't mix things up. Like, really get your projects on the ground. Show the impact at the beginning. Then keep showing impact, but then become more strategic and systematic and scale your resources, not by doing more projects, but by having more impact with the resources you have, because you're not very likely to get more resources, or not enough to really scale on just doing more projects. The organization has to learn to do that. And that's where you need to focus on doing that transformation, on getting that to fly, so that in the third phase, you can really focus mainly on transformation. But yeah,
Cool.
if you turn it around,
As I am a big fan of the combination of employee experience and customer experience, where Guido Bayer is speaking about organizational experience, and together with his colleagues in Datacon, Deutsche Telekom, and others, they developed a bit of framework, and they developed for themselves also some findings and measurements. So what could be a very interesting conversation between the two of you would be how your CX Heroes Academy and the approach of organizational experience and helping to measure this success could be fruitful.
yeah,
Another thing is, at the top of the hour, we have the funny attitude to encourage our guest to ask a last question to wrap up our session. As you just spoke about what you ask your coachees, where they would like to be in the end of next year, I would like to ask you, where do you see the development of CX during the next 5 years?
oh, that's a good one.
Nice,
well,
easy question.
Yeah, easy. Just before Christmas.
There's different levels to it. I think everything which is technological development will keep us busy.
Yeah.
And it's going to spin a lot faster. But for me, that's one lens when it comes to everything which is operational. I hope to see in 5 years a lot more CX teams which on a strategic meta level understand kind of the basic structure of customer experience management, which doesn't change just because the vehicle changes. Your goal doesn't change because your vehicle changes, so that we have a basic, good, solid understanding of that. And through that we see a lot more CX managers, CXOs, CCOs in C-levels, or being strategic allies to C-level, being much more up to that level, and not just, I don't want to diminish it, being just in middle management, but to really step up into top management. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that.
Marvelous. Thank you very, very much, Annika, for sharing that experience and have a continuation set up with us for the third time and giving us some insights, valuable insights, and the perspective that Cyprus in summer is warm and Cyprus in winter can be cold. And that you have a charming fireplace, which we saw, but not the audience. And thanks for the exciting insights we had during that hour. And please stay with us before we go backstage. And we would like to have our dear audience to join us even on the 26th of December, which is a little bit part in Europe. We have 2 days of Christmas, not only the Holy Evening and the first Christmas Day, but also a second Christmas Day. So it will be interesting who we will have as guests. Stay curious, as we have not yet fixed as a bit of a surprise, and you can unwrap if you stay in contact and watch that space, like my Brits would say. Please stay safe and healthy during the nice holiday days, and join us on the 26th of December. And stay curious in the arena of CX. Now I will push the button, and please stay with us.